My name is Jody Cantor. I'm an investigative reporter for the New York Times.
What have you got?
I was told that the wrongdoing in Hollywood is overwhelming.
I don't want to be quoted.
She Said is in theaters today. The story around the New York Times expose that helped launch the Me Too movement and shattered decades of silence around the subject of sexual assault in Hollywood. Senior entertainment reporter Eli Glasner joins us now with his take on all of this. Eli, this is a sprawling topic, so let's talk about how you get into a story like this. Where does it begin?
Well, it begins with what we call background in the news business. We begin with Carey Mulligan as Megan Twohey. She's a Times reporter, and we see her being put through the ringer, trying to get women to go on the record about the behavior of then presidential candidate Trump. What does she get for that? She gets harassed, and Trump is elected. But months later, there's a feeling that something is shifting. Bill O'Reilly is now out at Fox due to sexual harassment claims. And at the Times, they want to go further. Take a listen. Here's Patricia Clarkson as the editor.
Also, let's look for the enablers. Fox kept O'Reilly on for quite some time after our story broke.
And for decades before that.
The network only ousted him when the advertisers jumped ship.
Let's interrogate the whole system. Why is sexual harassment so pervasive and so hard to address?
So we just saw the wonderful Zoey Kazan there as Jody Cantor, a quiet but doggedly determined reporter who starts feeling out stories about abuse in Hollywood, beginning with claims by Rose McGowan, Ashley Judd, and others. And they very quickly realize that Harvey Weinstein, a man who for years had the Midas touch when it came to the Oscars, the man behind the film company Miramax, is at the center. Now, at this point, Megan Twohey has returned to work, but she seems, John, to be holding back. Is it a hangover from her experiences reporting on Trump? Is it what happened at home when she stepped away? Regardless, Jody makes the case.
What is it exactly that we're looking at here?
We're looking at extreme sexual harassment in the workplace. These young women walked into what they all had reason to believe were business meetings with a producer, an employer. They were hopeful. They were expecting a serious conversation about their work or a possible project. Instead, they say he met them with threats and sexual demands.
So there's the terrain. But now the real work begins, approaching women who worked for Harvey, women who left Miramax under mysterious circumstances, women who went silent, and getting them to talk and getting them to go on the record.
From Spotlight, All the President's Men, The Front Page, the list goes on and on. Plenty of movies there about journalism. So where does this one fit in, Eli?
All the best movies, I think, capture the process, similar to Spotlight, similar to so many of those movies that you mentioned. That certainly is a big part of this film, the endless calls, the false trails that make working on an investigative story. You know, at one point, Jody discovers a new source and says excitedly, I need to write a really good email. Now, that might sound like award-winning dialogue, but yeah, sometimes you need to write an amazing email. You need to craft the perfect sentence to get a source to open up to you, to create that conversation. Now, I haven't worked on stories anywhere close to the scale of what the Times reporters here did, but I recognize that frustration of people confirming your suspicion, saying, yeah, you're close, you're on the right track, but simultaneously saying, but it can't be me. It's too much. It's too scary. I'll lose my job, my family, my life. And I would say some of She Said's strongest moments are, in fact, the victims themselves, like Laura Madden, who worked at the Miramax London office. We see her first as a young woman literally stumbling onto a film set, her eyes bright with wonder, but then later with Harvey in a hotel room. And like so many victims, she blamed herself. Take a listen as Jody asked Laura if she thought Harvey tried it with other girls.
I thought that he must have tried it. But that they'd all said no. It was like he took my voice that day. Just when I was about to start finding it.
Just absolutely heart-wrenching. Now, a big part of what kept women such as Laura silent, and the film and the investigative reporting documented this, is the legal machinery, the NDAs. You get some money, you get a payment, they get your silence with conditions. This is Zelda, who tried to protect her friend in Venice.
I had to have their permission if I wanted to contact a therapist or speak to an accountant. I was never to speak to any other media now or hereafter existing about it. Jodie, this is bigger than Weinstein. This is about the system protecting abusers.
Small but effective role for Samantha Morton there.
This, though, a story that happened not that long ago. So how does it deal with well-known players?
Well, let's start with the biggest player of all in so many ways, Harvey Weinstein, who is still working his way through the legal systems even as he serves out a sentence. It shows how Harvey tried to charm, bully, and intimidate. First, he's just a voice on a speakerphone, a Jersey growl demanding information. Then his lawyer starts sniffing around. And finally, and this happened, John, Harvey arrives at the Times office, but we only see his mountainous back, the camera sticking on Carey Mulligan's face as the reporter listening to this barrage of insults and excuses. 90 minutes in a little glass box in that newsroom. There are other surprises like Ashley Judd, one of the first actors to step forward who actually appears as herself. Others such as Rose McGowan and Gwyneth Paltrow have voice doubles. And it also shows how the reality of reporting it's a team sport. The support of the editors and fact checkers, but also the reporters' families, some of the most saintly husbands I have ever seen, helping these women who are also wives, who are also mothers, working on this round-the-clock story. Now, She Said is many things, but it is not cinematic. The most glamorous thing about the film is the New York Times lunchroom. And because so much of this is so matter-of-fact, I would say there are a few scenes and lines that feel a little too self-conscious of the moment, more that the writers are highlighting how history was shaped rather than just focusing on the task at hand. I would say She Said is at its best when it's like the reporting itself. You do the work, you follow the leads, you tell the story, and you share what really happened. 3.5 stars out of 5.
Eli Glasner, thank you so much.
My pleasure.